Hey guys, welcome back to the Brik House. A Brik It Doesn't Here, and today we got week 4 of our Guardian Awakening Power Ranking tier list. So the patch notes for part 2 of the Guardian Awakening patch had come out earlier this week, and we're going to be going over the Pokemon affected by that. However, before we do so, there were a few Pokemon who had actually moved up and down, and one Pokemon that jumped up a huge amount that was a bit unexpected. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the Brik House, and without further ado, let's get right into the power ranking. So here we have the results of the Guardian Awakening Part 1 patch. A few Pokemon have been moved up and down this last week. Some notable inclusions include Pikachu, who has seen a slipping win rate these past couple of weeks and has been moving further down our not bad tier. Aegislash is another Pokemon who has actually been seeing one of the worst win rates out of all the all-rounders and has been moved down to the very bottom of our not bad tier. Urshifu is a Pokemon who has been doing exceptionally well this last couple of patches and has been moved further up in our solid pick tier, almost at the very top now. And most notably, Mewtwo X has jumped from our Brik tier to the not bad tier this last week. You'll see over on Unite API, while not having the best win rate out of the all-rounders, it has jumped up 4.6% this last week at a total of 49%, and it's just a huge jump from the second last position it held right next to Mewtwo Y, its counterpart. It's looking kinda good for Mewtwo X right now, and we've actually boosted him all the way up to our not bad tier, and we're gonna kinda keep an eye on him. Hopefully Mewtwo X can continue the streak and even level out at a 50% win rate and officially become a decent Pokemon again. So those were some of the notable movements from last week, and that's going to solidify our placement for the Guardian Awakening Part 1 patch. Charizard X obviously dominating out of every Pokemon, being a clear winner for this last patch, and Mewtwo Y not able to increase its win rate and still just at the bottom. Hopefully something happens to this Pokemon soon, although as you can see when we go through these next patch notes, Pokemon Unite has no interest in buffing this Pokemon just yet. So with that out of the way, let's move on to the patch notes and our predictions for this next week. So we're going to be going through the patch notes in Pokédex order, and first up we have Mega Charizard X. Mega Charizard X having its solar power nerfed, ratio going down from 140% to 106%, slider going down from 6 to 4, and the base power going down from 160 to 120. Tough Claws also being nerfed, ratio going from 280% to 212%, slider going from 12 to 8, and the base power going from 320 to 240. Basic attack for healing versus burned opponents has also dropped, going from 8% to 6%, and your defense and special defense increase has gone down from 50% to 30%. And finally, his Unite move Seismic Slam has been nerfed, energy requirement going from 80,000 to 100,000, and in layman terms is 89 seconds to around 112 seconds. So when you look at these percentages, this Pokemon was clearly overloaded. However, they had nerfed both its solar power and Tough Claws by 50%, as well as just lowering that defense and special defense increase it would gain, which was a bit unnecessary. And let's be honest, 89 seconds was just so short for a Unite move that lasted for that long. So very welcome changes, of course, and honestly I think it's enough to take Charizard X out of our must play tier. We saw something similar happen to Empoleon, where nerfing 20 to 25% on multiple moves kind of almost guts the Pokemon, and I don't think we're going to see too many more Mega Charizard X going forward. So we're going to be moving Mega Charizard X still in our solid pick tier. However, we're going to put them just right under Suicune for right now. We're going to see how they do for this next week, and so that means that the must-play position for all-rounders is left open currently. Next in the patch notes, we have Clefable. So Clefable having this Draining Kiss, HP recovery being buffed, going from 140% to 180%, as well as Draining Kiss Plus being buffed, the HP recovery damage ratio going from 160% to 200%. So a nice buff for Draining Kiss. Moonlight is often run on Clefable as it provides your whole team healing, whereas Draining Kiss just provides your self healing. Although it's nice to see some of these buffs on moves that are not played as much, as it does open up a little bit more opportunity to explore some new gameplay styles for this Pokemon. And I imagine we're going to see some more tanky Clefable builds come out of this because of this buff. However, Clefable still going to stay in the same position as last week and just going to be inhabiting that solid pick tier. So the next Pokemon we have on the patch notes is Dodrio. Dodrio having its Jump Kick being nerfed, the initial damage ratio going from 74% to 66%. Sliders staying the same, but the base power also going down from 170 to 154. And the damage from your slam also going down, the ratio going from 74% of your attack to 66%. Sliders also staying the same, although the base power also going down from 170 to 154. Jump Kick Plus also being nerfed as its stun duration going down from 1 second to 0.6 seconds, more so in line with a lot of other stun durations in this game. So Dodrio constantly at the top of our solid pick tier ever since these Groudon changes to the map. Still a Pokemon I think is going to be performing quite well despite these nerfs, as it's really that mobility around the map that is just so valuable that Dodrio does provide, as well as having a very easy way to get points off. It's a Pokemon I feel pretty comfortable keeping in our solid pick tier for this next week, and we're actually not even going to move it, just keep it at the top. We'll kind of see how these next week goes. Next Pokemon we have on the patch notes is Espeon. So Espeon having its base stats buffed, its HP, defense, and special defense all going up. Most notably its defense and special defense at these early levels, defense going up to 70 and special defense going up to 65, so definitely going to get a lot more early power tankiness, much needed for this Pokemon right now. Stirred Power Plus also being buffed. The additional damage will trigger now when the opponent's HP is at 50% instead of 40%, and Feature Sight Plus being buffed with a increased damage to lock on targets going from 10% to 15%. So very welcome buffs for Espeon indeed. You'll see that we've had these EVs in our could be better tier for the last few weeks. Seeing these drastic increases in its defenses for that early game, as well as more damage in its stored power, is definitely a very welcome change, and I think Espeon is going to be performing much better this next week. I feel fairly comfortable moving Espeon all the way up to a not bad tier, just above Pikachu actually right now, and hopefully it can kind of level out to around a 50% win rate, as it is still struggling a little bit right now. Next up in our patch notes we have another EV, Leafeon. Leafeon having its Leaf Blade buffed, going from 8.5 seconds to 7.5 seconds, and its Solar Blade Plus buffed, its damage reduction going from 40% to 50%. So Razor Leaf is the much more played set with Leafeon, and just like Clefable, they're buffing the move that is not so oftenly used, although I don't see Solar Blade taking over Razor Leaf anytime soon as being Leafeon's go-to move. Razor Leaf just provides so much value, and it's just so fast that these attackers usually just can't react by the time the damage comes out. So Leafeon gonna stay in the same spot as it did last week, which was just at the bottom of the not bad tier. Although you can't go wrong with a lot of these species in this tier, they're very close to each other in skill and win rate, and Leafeon still a very good choice if you wish to pick it up. So next we have Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario having its Justified getting nerfed, its attack increase going down from 12.5% to 8%, adaptability being nerfed going down from 7% to 5%, and close combat cooldown reduction on hit going down from 0.6 to 0.4 seconds. So just like Mega Charizard, very welcome changes for a Mega Pokemon that had been dominating a meta very recently. Not as severe as Mega Charizard, although it definitely was not as strong. Mega Lucario had been sitting at the top of our solid pick tier this last week, although I think we can actually move it down. Just around Serena for this next week. We'll see how its win rate gets affected from these nerfs. So next up we have Mimikyu. Mimikyu also seeing a buff to its base stats, HP, defense, and special defense going up, although you're gonna see a more notably increase for that late game, as opposed to Espeon who had a bigger increase for that early game. Shadow Sneak also being buffed, additional marked targets having 4% to 6% of the opponent's missing HP, and Shadow Claw Plus being buffed, having its additional damage going up from 10% to 12% of the opponent's missing HP. So some very good buffs for Mimikyu. Again, kind of in the trend of buffing the not so used move, as Play Rough is used much more than Shadow Claw, although Mimikyu definitely now has the potential of being a very scary Pokemon. It had been sitting near the top of our not bad tier these last couple of weeks, and is extremely frail, especially with the introductions of a lot of these dive heavy all-rounders. These stat increases, especially for that late game, are going to help out a lot for Mimikyu, and Shadow Claw may be a moveset you see a lot more often, as that was a pretty noticeable increase in the damage ratios. So I think we're going to be moving Mimikyu actually into our solid pick tier for this next week. We'll put him just under Scyther, and we'll keep an eye on Mimikyu's win rate to see if it jumps up significantly. So next up we have Sylveon. So Sylveon having its Draining Kiss buffed, its ratio going from 20.2% of your special attack to 23% of your special attack. Base power going from 166 to 190. Draining Kiss Plus also buffed, the ratio going from 30.3% of your special attack to 34.5% of your special attack, and the base power going up from 249 to 285. Calm Mind also being buffed, cooldown going from 9.5 seconds to 9 seconds, and its Unite move, Fairly Frolic, getting buffed, as the Lifesteal on landing going from 50% to 60%. So a lot of buffs on Sylveon right there. Another Eevee that was in the bottom of our could be better tier this last couple of weeks, and definitely some very welcome buffs, buffing both its Draining Kiss and Calm Mind, so no matter which set you go, you're going to see a notable increase in your damage. Also, giving it a much more lifesteal with its Unite move is going to give it a lot more potential, especially in these big Groudon fights near the end of the game. I'm really hoping this is enough for Sylveon to be put in a not bad tier, and we're going to be moving it up. I think we'll just put it right under Espeon for this next week. And again, I got both my fingers crossed that Sylveon does see an increase in its win rate. So the final Pokemon that we have in our patch notes is Zacian. So Zacian's attack speed actually going down, specifically just at these earlier levels, mostly to stop it from diving these attackers when it goes jungle in that early game, as well as a nerf to its Metal Claw, its attack speed increase going from 100% to 80%. So Zacian, very strong Pokemon, although has definitely been falling out of the meta recently because of the introduction of much stronger all-rounders. It was definitely way too strong when diving attackers in that early game with that attack speed, so definitely a very welcome change on that. We won't end up moving him on the tier list at all, however, as this is something that really just affects the early game portion for Zacian, although that is something that is easily overcome by just farming a little bit more. So we're going to keep him in the same position and just put him right above Lucario. So those are the Pokemon who were affected by the patches for this week. A lot of Pokemon moving up and moving down, and you'll see that we have an open slot still in our must play position, which we will fill out with Blaziken for this week. I was going back and forth with a few Pokemon, Serena, Urshifu, and Blaziken, and I settled on Blaziken because he is typically a much easier Pokemon to play. You have a lot more playstyles that are available to you. Blaziken having a fairly easy combo to get the hang of, and definitely a Pokemon I think is worth picking up for this next week. However, we also have the introduction of Dhelmise, Dhelmise being the newest all-rounder added to the game. Hopefully not one that is going to completely break the meta like the ones we have just seen, although definitely will be inhabiting our solid pick tier for this week. I'm pretty comfortable in putting it fairly high up, just under Urshifu. I think this Pokemon has a lot of potential and will also pair so well with a lot of these other all-rounders. Hopefully these attackers can also pair well with Dhelmise, as they're kind of struggling still and we haven't seen much love going in their direction recently. So that's going to do it for the power rankings for this week. Espeon getting one of the better buffs from these patch notes, as well as Mimikyu seeing a huge glow up. Definitely also want to see some more Sylveon, as that is a Pokemon that is very fun to play with and against. So let me know down in the comments what you think of this week. Do you think anyone should be moved up? Do you think anyone should be moved down? I'd like to hear what you got to say down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support the Brik House. And until next time guys, stay nasty.